Well, I haven't posted any Blazer videos recently. It's been a long winter here in Maine, and you can see that the salt has taken its toll on my brake lines. So I'm going to go ahead and try to swap this out and see if I can get some of it on camera for you. The last time I changed out these lines that run across the top of the frame on my 95 Jimmy, I ended up having to do the fuel line also because they run right next to each other, and the corrosion, they basically came off in one big ball of rust. Alright, so I've got the vehicle up off the ground. I've got it supported with jack stands and a heavy-duty jack. But you can see all of these lines really need to be replaced. This here is the one we're going to do today. This is the rear brake line, and that runs down into, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start by, let's see if I can get you a shot of that. Right there. And that runs to a flex hose, which runs to this, basically a T, and then that shoots it off to each rear caliper. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to spray this off with some PB Blaster or something. I'm going to let it set because I don't want to break anything if I don't have to. Alright, so on the front, I'm going to come to this this factory union here, and I'm going to try to replace this whole thing from here back because I suspect the line itself, in front of this is probably pretty solid. So I'm just going to come to here, and again, just because I'm going to be waiting, I'm going to spray this down with PB Blaster, and I expect I'll be able to get this off okay, but I might as well spray it down anyways because I've got to wait for the rear to set. All right, so you can see I ended up cutting the line here. It happens to be a 14 millimeter. I used a tubing wrench. Another thing I tried was taking an awl and scraping away the rust that from the tubing, where the tubing meets the actual fitting, and a lot of times that rust there is what's preventing this from spinning. Not so much the rust in the union or in the threads, but it's the rust binding the fitting to the tubing, and that's why a lot of times you'll twist them off. But in the interest of moving forward, I just decided to cut it, and we want to get the job done. I didn't want to mess with it too much more. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this, and then we'll move on to the back one, which I expect is going to be even more difficult. In fact, I've already prepared myself for the idea that I may have to buy that brake flex line, that rubber tubing that this meets up with on the other end. So, as well as the idea that I may end up having to replace a fuel line if this goes the way it did a couple of years ago with my Jimmy. So let me get this out of here, and then we'll move on to the back. Alright, so with the back one, I ended up cutting this as well, just like I did the first one, because remember I said that sometimes it's the actual rust between the tube and the fitting that prevents it from moving. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a pipe here, and I'm going to put rotation, in the counterclockwise position, and I'm also going to work the wrench at the same time, and I'm hoping that this is going to add extra leverage, I don't know if you can see it or not, to help bust this loose. So let me put the camera down and start working the wrench and see if I can break this fitting loose without having to buy a new flex hose. Okay, so that did work. So it looks like I've got both ends of this length of tubing released without, well, I cut the tubing, but I haven't broken any fittings. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to work this and get this out of here, and then we'll see if we can break the line out of here without ruining my fuel line. So let me set the camera down and finish winding this out. Okay, you can see I got that out, and what I did is I cut that off. This was sitting in like this, and I put a pipe on here and worked this end with the wrench. And again, a lot of times the reason why these fittings don't come out is because of the amount of rust here on where the tubing meets the fitting. It's not so much the threads, it's more about the rust that's here. So if you can break that off and allow that to spin, sometimes you have better luck. So, alright, now we need to work on removing this line all the way down the frame. So I'm basically going to take a screwdriver or some sort of a tool that's going to hopefully allow me to pry this up while leaving these other lines intact, because I don't want to have a fuel leak. So I'm going to go ahead and start doing that next. Alright, so I'm going to spray all these, anywhere there's a clip, I'm just going to spray down a little bit. And I'm going to try to wedge my screwdriver in and kind of twist it sideways. I just have a flat screwdriver. And try to hold down on the bracket because the bracket's wanting to pop out of the frame, which is obviously causing the fuel line to move, which I don't want. Oop, there it goes. Alright. So right now I've got just that top part here, and I'm going to work my way down the frame here. Well, no need to lube this one because you can see this is exactly where it's been leaking. I'm going to try the same technique with the screwdrivers so I don't disturb the fuel line, I'm hoping. This may actually end up snapping the line itself. There it goes. You can see here where it was split. Okay, so that one's free right there. Let's take a look. This must run on the inside of the frame now because I don't feel it on the top. Let's see where this goes now. Alright, so it's up above the fuel filter. So let me reposition the light, get myself under here and see where this goes. But we're working our way to the front. Right, so there were a couple of these. These go in the frame. You can see I got that without breaking it. And the other one's still on the frame. There was one more top frame clip about midway that I didn't show you. But right, so here's what we're going to start with. I have a 60. This is all 1/4" tubing. I have a 30. And I have a 20. So that gives us 110 inches. These are all in inches. And it's, you know, I'm hoping this is going to allow me to get where I need to go without doing any flaring. But if I have to, I'll break out the cheapo double flare tool and show you how that works. Alright, so I'm here in the rear, and I'm going to try to use my cheap tubing bender and recreate this rear portion first. This went over and down and then bent back towards the frame. So I'm gonna start doing that, and I'm gonna try to get this 20-inch length in here. I've got the union on here, but it's not tightened down yet. And then I'm gonna try to get this resting on the frame, and then I'm gonna add the 60-inch length because the front of it's basically straight, and anything that needs to be bent, I believe we could do by hand. But this here, I want to try to get as neat as possible and try to get the same bends. The other thing is, if I have to flare, it'll be much easier to flare up front than it would be to do that back here. So let me get started on that. Okay, you can see I got that first bend pretty close. I can straighten it out by hand after the fact. So now I'm going to need to come back this way because this actually runs along the frame and then this cuts over. So I'm going to stick it in there and see how far I need to bend it. Okay, I've got that rear fitting in. Unfortunately, I can get my tubing bender in here, and so I'm going to try to make this next bend, which is going to shoot it this way. And also, it should actually bend down a little bit because I've got a clip here. So I'm going to work on that. It's kind of tough to hold the camera and do this stuff and also be in here. So I'm going to go ahead and give that a shot, and I'll show you how I make out here when I get done. Okay, believe it or not, I'm just shy. That's where I'm at right there, and that's where I need to be. So I do have an extra length. I believe I'm just gonna cut off a small piece and try the double flare tool. So maybe I'll be able to show you how that works real quick. Alright, so this is day 2 here, and my battery ran out, and I don't know how much I got recorded last night, but I came up a little short, so I had to put a small piece in here, and you can see that all along the frame I was able to use the original clips, and there's one of the unions right there. So ideally you'd want to get out of this with as few unions as possible. I ended up with 3, but if you buy 2 lengths of 60-inch, you should be all set. You'll have to either cut and then flare or get real creative with the bends. This is the only clip I haven't been able to get down into. I'm going to try to rebend this. So this is the only one I was not able to get the tubing into. So I'm going to work on that a little bit here today. So hopefully this video has been helpful. I'm going to post another video showing how to use those cheap flare or double flare tools. Because I don't believe I was able to capture it last night due to my battery. So if you have rotten brake lines, don't be afraid to try it out. Leave questions and comments below, and good luck. Thanks for watching.